12, 2024 meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Lori Flannery, CEO of New Directions, Club President, and Paul Harris Fellow. Providing our invocation today is Dr. Melissa Chastain, Provost at Spalding University.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. As we gather here today as Rotarians and guests, let us take a moment to reflect on the privilege we have to serve others. May we be guided by all that we say and do, remembering to seek the truth, act fairly, to foster goodwill, and to strive for better friendships. Let us open our hearts and minds to the needs of our community and the world, and may our discussions and decisions today lead us to positive change. Please grant us the wisdom to know how to best serve, the courage to act with integrity, and the compassion to always reach out to those in need. As we go forward from this meeting, let us ever be mindful of service above self. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Melissa. As you know, we try to have the person who leads us in the invocation every week tie it to the speaker, and I think you did a lovely job of that, so thank you so much. Okay, now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test is Portia Shoulders, CEO and owner of PLSIX Porta Potty Rentals, LLC.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, now it's time for Rotarians to introduce their guests that we have with us today. If you have a guest, Rotarian, please come over here to this microphone. And as you begin, if you will introduce yourself to the club first, then your guest giving their name and any title or affiliation that they might have. And guests, if you hear your name, please stand briefly so the rest of the club can put a name with a face. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Anne Marie Swert. I am the director of the MBA program here at the University of Louisville. And my guest today is Julie Wonderland. She is a native of Louisville, but has been living out in Chicago and the Bay Area for many years. Just returned. We met over the summer at Focus Louisville. She is now the president of Wonderland Company, providing consulting on change management and strategic planning.
Welcome.
Madam President, hello, Madam President. I'm Sandra Dodge. My guest today is Ben Martin. Ben, you may have met him at the last Rotary networking event at the Humane Society. He was the guy with the puppy and the kilt. Today he's just the guy with the kilt. If you get a chance to go out, he did a fabulous job, I think, on my headshot because I was about 10 years younger, about 20 months lighter. So,
Welcome.
My name is John Callahan. I'm Premier of Caregiver Services, and my guest today is my son Frank Callahan, who's a recent graduate of Ole Miss accountancy program and is moving to Charlotte October 1st to start a job at KPMG and will be off the payroll.
Make sure you join a Rotary when you get down there. Okay, guests, after the meeting today, when you hear me ring the bell, when we adjourn the meeting, if you will make your way over to this table over here, there's a little thing on there that says, what is Rotary? And there's cookies, in case you don't get enough cookies at your table. Craig Sherman, in the lovely blue jacket over here in the corner, will meet you and spend just a couple of minutes talking about what Rotary is and what our club is all about. This week we had the remembrance of September 11th, and I know has been a lot of talk on social media and different workplaces and in our religious affiliations about what that day meant to each of us. And I know I was too young to be alive when Kennedy was shot, but in a lot of ways I think that this may be a similar thing where everybody knows where they were when that day happened. So I just wanted us to recognize this, that day has passed, but it was this week, so did want to make sure we recognize that. We also have several Rotarians in the spotlight this week, as always. So we want to congratulate Neville Blakemore on his new role, and this is a mouthful, as Managing Director of Chicago-based Person LLC, a middle market advisory firm specializing in M&A, which of course is mergers and acquisitions, private capital market financing, transaction advisory services, financial leadership support, and business value enhancement consulting. So congratulations to Neville. We want to also congratulate Matt Riggle with LPX Group and Jeremy Vorkruka with Miranda Construction on making this year's Fast 50 list for Business First. So congratulations to Matt and Jeremy. And as most of you probably know by now, I bet I have an extra 100 emails into my email account today because it is Gift for Good Day, Louisville. So every nonprofit that you have ever been involved with or you have ever donated to or volunteered with is going to send you a request for that. Community Foundation of Louisville has been doing Gift for Good for 10 years, I believe, and have raised about $60 million within this community during that time frame. So it is a worthy endeavor. And if you are interested in giving this time of year, I know a lot of people wait to the end of the year, December, but if you are interested, there are a lot of very worthy nonprofits that you could give to between now and 11:59 tonight. To remind you, I've mentioned these before, but they haven't happened yet, so I'll remind you that our social committee has planned a Rotary Day at the volleyball court on Sunday, September 22nd at 12:30. Come watch the U of L women's team take on the Nebraska Huskers. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Jeff Underhill, who is the social committee chair. Mentoring for our Rotary Honors Scholars starts back up at Western High School next Tuesday, September 17th, and at Iroquois High School on Wednesday, September 25th. See the chair of that committee, who is Craig Mooney, who I also want to recognize as the treasurer for Rotary, so thank you, Craig, for that service as well, if you would like to help prepare these students. You don't have to make a commitment to go every single time during the school year. Every time that you are able to go really does provide a connection for these community scholars and really helps them understand, what leadership looks like and successful people in our community. So anything you can do along those lines would be wonderful. Our Interact clubs have 2 blood drives that are scheduled. There's one on October 15th at Western High School and one on October 31st at Iroquois High School. Please save these dates and volunteer or donate blood if you are able to do so. Now, I would like to invite to the podium Dave Christopher. I'm a little nervous because I don't see you. Okay. Oh, that is so fabulous. Thank you, Joyce. Please to introduce today's speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm not collecting any tickets at this moment. And for those of you that don't have tickets, remember, eat those cookies. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Vivian Blade, who holds a number of degrees, MBA, MBB, PMP, if you can figure those out, I know she'll let you know. Leadership and Resilience Expert, President and CEO, and experts in Growth Leadership Consulting. It is my pleasure to, before I just read you a couple things, to let you know, I personally know Vivian Blade for a number of years. when I was the CEO of Girl Scouts of Kentuckiana, being very much involved afterwards. And I think, is Maggie here? There's Maggie Elder, who's now the CEO of Girl Scouts of Kentuckiana. But I had the pleasure of being a volunteer member on the board of directors, of which Miss Vivian was the board chair for 2 terms, which is longevity, let me tell you, in the Girl Scouts. She's a trusted ally in navigating the future of work as a top-rated influencer and certified speaking professional. Vivian still delivers solutions that empower our organizations to re-engineer their workplace culture, enhance employee retention, and safeguard their bottom line. Vivian's expertise is not just recognized, but reeled upon companies that are serious about staying ahead. With over 20 years of experience in leadership, roles at Fortune 50 giants Humana and GE, an adjunct professor at the University of Louisville, Vivian brings deep knowledge in business, strategies, finance, and leadership in her clients. Her engaging keynote influential books and articles in transformative leadership programs equip your leaders with the tools they need to excel. When you partner with Vivian, you're gaining a strategic partner committed to your long-term success. And may I add, she's amazing, and she is going to influence you. Miss Vivian Blake.
Thank you so much, Joyce, and thank you all for the opportunity to be here with you today. And I want to thank my husband, Vance, who is with me today, and my staunch supporter in everything, so thank you so much. And Steve Leonard, also one of your Rotarians, for making the connection and introduction to be able to be with you here. And so many familiar faces that are with us. I want to really focus today on all this change that we're going through, and we have been. It seems like we're on a roller coaster, doesn't it? That never ends. And so how to future-proof your business and really unleash the potential of your organization as well as yourself. That is going to be our focus for today. Now, before I dive in, I've got a couple of questions for you. First, now I want to take you back to, and I usually like to move around, so this being right here stationary is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me, because I usually like to move around and get close. But let's go back to 2008, 2009, the Great Recession. And if I asked you to rate your organization on a scale of 0 to 10, on how prepared you were, how future-proof you believe you were to really navigate through that time and thrive after going through that crisis, what would that be? Now let's fast forward to 2020 and the pandemic. On a scale of 0 to 10, how prepared, how future-proof do you feel like your organization was, and even you personally, but really to navigate through that time and thrive as you got to the other side? Compare the two time frames, 2008, 9, 2020. Do you feel like you were better prepared in 2020? Now, I know both of those took us aback. We were not prepared for any of those. But when we come into a crisis and we know the next one is right around the corner, we're always surprised. We're never prepared like we want to be, but we can be better prepared so that the next crisis that arises, we can be more future-proof. In this time of change that we're in, it's moving constantly and ever so quickly. And what I want to share with you today are really 3 key things. I want us to look at the 4 key shifts that we are experiencing in this environment. We'll look at 5 key priorities that you as a business leader really need to be attentive to and have at the top of your strategic agenda. And then I want to give you a roadmap for how to navigate change, for how to navigate future-proofing your organization as you move forward. Now, in this environment of change, we're in this period where the things that we are experiencing are not at all what we expected. So meet our granddaughter, Nosley. Nosley just turned 2 years old, and her brother, Novak, our son Percy has 2 children. Novak, her brother, is 4, just turned 4. So this was about 4 or 5 months ago. So Nosley was about 20 months old, not even 2, and loves the phone. Loves the phone. Now, I was playing with them. I'm Gigi. And do I have any other grandparents in the room? Isn't it just the best time of your life? What they say about it is true. But I was on the floor playing Old MacDonald's Farm. We had all the farm animals out. And Nosley saw my phone resting on the floor beside me. And she picks it up, as she often will do, and play around. A couple minutes later, I realized there is somebody else on the other end of that line. So as I negotiate the phone away from her, I realize, she's talking to the 911 operator. So I profusely apologized to the lady, and she asked me repeatedly, "Are you sure you all don't need emergency service or anything right now?" And so I had to convince her that everything was okay. So finally, when the call ended, I looked at Nosley and I said, "Nosley, look, you can call Santa. You can call Jesus. You can even call Grandpa and Gigi when your parents tell you no about something. But please do not call the 911 operator again." And of course, she had no idea what I was talking about. But there are so many times that I look at them and I think about what the future is going to be like. What is work? What's the future of work going to be like for them when they graduate from college in 2044? It was even hard to imagine that time or now. But we are seeing trends that are driving radical change in our environment. So things like all of the monetary policy. We are waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for the Fed to reduce interest rates. Anybody waiting for that? And just on the edge of our seats to see what's going to happen and how the market's going to respond as well. And then, we've got inflation, we've got political unrest. I just did a virtual keynote for a Ukrainian HR conference just last Friday. And so it's been fascinating to talk with them about how they live each and every day and the change they're going through. They said you can't plan long term, of course, with the uncertainty and what the future is. We have to just think about short term, but we are trying to live our lives. So we've got all this political unrest, all these things. We've got AI that has entered the picture and is changing things so radically. So in this environment, we are experiencing 4 big shifts. And write this down. The 4 big shifts are, we are seeing changes radically in the work itself, how work gets done, the workplace, and the workforce. And the thing that makes this time so interesting is the fact that we've got all these trends, all these things that are happening in our environment are colliding at one time. So we're having to deal with everything shifting, and how in the world do we manage to all of that? I want to introduce to you that in light of that, I am concerned about really one key thing, is especially as technology takes hold, and there's a lot of focus on artificial intelligence and how we integrate that into our businesses. But I'm really concerned about our human connection. We are losing the human connection as technology and how we evolve really becomes more in the forefront. And we're thinking more about our operations and how we're going to manage our operations on a day-to-day basis. So your future-proof strategy is not just about how you integrate technology, but your future-proof strategy is all about human potential. Human capital is, human potential is your future-proof strategy. Now, everything too that I talked about in terms of those trends that are driving those big shifts, the work, how work gets done, our workplaces and our workforce, are all impacting and impacted by our human capital. People are part of all of that. So if we are ignoring that element, we're ignoring a critical piece of our business strategy and what's going to move our business forward. Now, I want to introduce to you the 5 key strategic priorities as you think about the future of work and how it is evolving, and you think about the integration of your human potential with that. What are the 5 key areas that you need to make sure that you are planning around, you are strategizing around as business leaders? The first is the future of work itself. How are we understanding how in the world are all these trends and these shifts impacting and influencing our business? What's the impact? What's the impact on people? And how do we navigate that going forward? So the first is understanding the future of work and getting into more control over that, over those changes. Your second area is leader effectiveness. In this environment of change, where you've got to navigate everything, how many of you would say it's one of the most challenging times for leaders to lead as you have seen in probably your career? Anybody would say that, agree with that? Yeah, so it's one of the most challenging times. Again, you've got all of these areas that you're navigating. If you are not investing in developing your leadership talent for tomorrow, for today and for tomorrow, to navigate change and to navigate the human potential, to lead the human potential in your organizations, you are missing a tremendous opportunity. That is one of your strategic advantages. People don't leave companies, most of the time I'll say they leave sometimes for more money, but the biggest reason we still see in the research, and we see in Gallup's engagement research, is about the leader and the people that I have to work with in my organization, which really drives a lot of the next key strategic priority. You need to be thinking about your talent experience. There are 2 key things here. One is that talent. It's not just your employee base that works for you each and every day. There's a commercial now that I think Upwork has on that says something about getting you to hire some of the consultants that work for them, the freelancers that work with Upwork, because they say something like, well, this is how we work now. So your workforce is diverse in many, many ways, including they're not necessarily all on your balance sheet. There's some research by the Deloitte that talks a lot about that. So a lot of my work is with organizations around leadership effectiveness and culture as we think about how to lead better and thrive in this future of work environment. And so you have to think about what kind of human experiences are we creating in our environment today, those human experiences. Your 4th key strategic priority is resilience and agility. Now, most of the time we think about resilience and agility from an operational lens. How many of you have operational resilience plans, and especially now that we've gone through 2020? Has that been a lot of your focus? Resilience, operational, backup plans, all those strategies. We fail to think about the human impact when we think about resilience and agility, and the fact that people are burned out. They're still burned out. People are overwhelmed. Many of you, I know, would say, if I asked you, yeah, there's a lot of overwhelm within myself and within our organization. So employee well-being is critical for us to think about as well. So how do we become resilient organizations so that we can thrive collectively? And so you have to build individual, team, and organizational resilience. I've done a lot of work around that and research around that and writing around that. Your 5th pillar is strategic HR integration. Again, everything has an impact on human capital. Human potential is your strategic advantage, it's your differentiator. So, we've talked a lot about HR having a seat at the table. They not only need to have a seat at the table, but they need to be in each and every conversation that you're having. Human capital and human potential need to be part of every decision that you're making and everything that you're thinking about in your business. When you bring these 5 key strategic areas of focus, you're going to create a much stronger organization. When you integrate that human potential lens into it, that piece of your strategy, then you've got a tremendous future-proof opportunity. Now, I have a couple of resources for you on this so that you can take some of this information home. One of them is a card at your table that has these 5 priorities on them. Another one is, because we haven't had time to really get into a lot of the details around these today, is an infographic that I have created. And that infographic is has information about these 5. What's some data and statistics around what's driving each of these 5 priorities and why they are important for you. And then what are some actions you can take around them. And so there's a QR code on the card that if you scan that, you can connect with me and that you can download that particular infographic to give you more information if you would like to have that. All right, so what do you do with this information? Now that you have it, how do you take this and begin to think about how do I continue to, in this environment of constant change and disruption, how do I continue to iterate? How do we continue to innovate? Your strategies and solutions around these 5 key priorities, it's not a single destination. So you have to keep the ball moving. You have to keep rolling. You have to stay informed. So I want to share with you a roadmap that has 3 phases. 3 phases that are going to help you get to reiterate, to innovate on a constant basis as things continue to move and shift. Your first phase is to reframe. Reframe your mindset. In my work, in my book on Resilience Ready, the very first resilience principle is perspective. Because if you don't have the right mindset, then it's already a losing game. So in this environment of change, you've got to think about, how do I change? How do we do things differently? How do we think about things differently? How is the world of the future of work impacting us? So that's one of the reasons why that strategic priority is first. And what do we do about it? You have to be in a growth mindset. We've heard about a growth mindset before, haven't we? I want to share with you an example that you may have seen in the news recently about someone who I think absolutely has a growth mindset, and she is absolutely reframing her mindset. So you may have seen in the news a couple of weeks ago, let me put my glasses on for this, a 102-year-old woman who is the oldest Great Britain to skydive. Do I have any skydivers? Anybody skydive before? All right, I see one hand. All right, is that on your bucket list? Yeah, look. And there was I don't remember if it was her, but there was another, maybe a 100-year-old person or something who said, what bucket list? I'm living. I don't have a bucket list. It's a living list. So how do I live? But here's what she said. She said, and her name is Minette Bailey, so spelled a little bit differently, Minette Bailey. And look what she did before this. She previously had taken on other daring challenges, including when she drove around Silverstone in a Ferrari at 130 miles per hour for her 100th birthday. So she takes on the challenges for her birthday, and she's also doing this to raise money. But she also said, it was a bit scary. She said, I must admit I shut my eyes firmly. I just want other people who are getting towards 80 and 90 not to give up anything. Just keep going. Just keep going. Now, I imagine she said, look, what have I got to lose? Let's go. Let's go. So what have we got to lose? Let's go. We've got to get out of our comfort zone and do some things differently from time to time. And that takes me to really your second phase here of future-proofing your organization, and that is to reinvent. Sometimes we got to get out of our comfort zone and we've got to shake things up a little bit. I want you to look at your neighbor and say, shake things up. Yeah, shake things up a little bit. We get set in our ways. Look, we are not, Manette, we get stuck in our ways of, this is how we've always done it. Or it always worked that way. And, so let's not try anything new. This is tried and new. Everything is new now. Your talent is expecting you to do things differently. If you want to retain talent in your organization, we've got 5 generations in the workplace today. How many of you would say that is on some days one of the biggest challenges you face? Anybody agree with that? Yeah, one of the biggest challenges you face sometimes is around all the people that we have to navigate. But there are different expectations. I saw on the news this week too, where they were talking about young people, students who have just gone through COVID and the isolation, what it has done to their brains, where it has shrunken some of the important areas of development and growth, and very concerned about what that means for their future growth and development and learning and thriving opportunities. So we have different expectations, we have different needs. We have to reinvent things and do things differently than we did before. Now, who is using AI today? When we think about reinventing, we think a lot about technology. Anybody using AI? Who's using AI? Okay, a few people in the room, a few brave souls, I will say. All right, I'm curious, how are you, well first, what are some of the tools, AI tools that you're using? Platforms, what are some of the AI platforms you're using?
I use ChatGPT.
All right, very common, ChatGPT. A lot of people other people using ChatGPT. What are some of the other platforms you use?
Gemini.
Pardon?
Gemini.
All right, Gemini, which is part of Google. Google's rolling that out in a big way right now. What else? Sorry? Okay, Meta, what they're doing in Facebook. You've got, yes, sir.
Zoom.
Zoom.
Zoom's AI assistant.
Zoom has an AI assistant. So we're seeing it pop up everywhere. And people are trying to figure out how to monetize AI. What do we do to really make it a competitive advantage, but to really utilize it in whatever we're doing in our businesses so that we can earn some revenue, some profitability from that. So your biggest competitive advantage when you think about AI is not just the technology. Somebody can go to ChatGPT. I use Perplexity also. I use Claude. And so it's some of these combinations of some of these AI platforms that help you to use the features, take advantage of some of the different features of what they do best. But AI is now in a place where they're not only using large language models, but they are beginning to integrate large action models. And what we're going to see over the next year is more of an ability for AI to reason with us. And there are some that you can talk to already today and have a conversation with. We're using that in a lot of chat bots and things, but we're going to see the evolution of that. But again, that's replicable. You have to reinvent using the human potential that you have in your organization in order to take the greatest and fullest advantage of those platforms. When I think about reinventing, I like to think about ANT too for a minute. I want to talk about some of the work that Dave Christopher is doing. And he is trying to, first and foremost, a staunch supporter and believer in we can invest in communities, invest in growing talent and growing economic opportunity across all areas of our community. Then all boats rise, right? Rising tides lift all boats. And he is investing in technology, with technology programs, with small business incubator programs, a new Russell Innovation Center, where training people to come out with these new skills so that you can use not only AI, but you've got the human potential from a program where someone has invested like that, that gives you ready-made talent that you can bring into your organization. Now, I know today is Give for Good Louisville, so I'm going to give a plug for all the nonprofits that I support. Girl Scouts of Kentucky, Indiana is one of those, and Metro United Way, and there are many others. I don't want to leave anybody out, but this is a good day to say Give for Good Louisville, so let's make sure that we are giving back to the nonprofits who are doing great work in helping you to prepare and giving you talent that really is ready, and an economy in our community that is ready to go, All right, so the second area then, your second phase is to reinvent. Let's shake some things up. And then your third phase is you gotta reignite momentum. People are scared of change. I'm afraid of I don't know what's around the corner. My husband and I, our family, we used to go to First Baptist J-Town, and Reverend Thurman Coleman was the pastor. Anybody remember Reverend Thurman Coleman? Any folks here? And, when you go to church and you've got a crowd there, the pews are crowded, but you go every week and you have your same seat that you love to sit in. So as guests would be coming in, you'd have to remind some of us who got real comfortable in our spot, smile and scoot, smile and scoot. So we have to make space for and make energy, bring energy to what we are reinventing and get people out of the seat that they're comfortable in. And to do that, a great way to do that is to get people engaged and involved in the innovation. So in the reinvention part and even in the reframing part, so that you're bringing people on your team along the full journey. I like to think about a company, Verve Cloud. They are a technology company, and they are leaders in this intersection of technology and people. First of all of their mission, their vision, their values, everything is based around humanity. They talk about building community. They talk about caring for people. They talk about being inclusive. And one word that is taboo at work that they lead with love. Now, we don't like to talk about love at work, it's often taboo, but it's important in terms of the experience that people have in our workplace. That's going to create a sticky environment. So they use culture ambassadors who are energizers. They are out there encouraging. They are working with their peers day to day on implementing initiatives, getting people comfortable with change, building trust, which is critically important. We've seen a lot of declines in trust, especially as we've gone through these recent years. And they bring people together for community service day. So they're doing a lot to build community. When we build community, we can build extraordinary momentum. Extraordinary momentum. So these three areas, reframe, reinvent, reignite, that's your roadmap to innovation. That is your roadmap to future-proof, taking those 5 key priorities, integrating your human capital potential, because human capital, human potential is your future-proof strategy. Now, I want to take you back and ask you for a moment to think about what you're going to do with the information that I've shared with you today. I want to go back to Nosley for a moment. Now, I had to reframe, reinvent, and reignite because, Nosley and Novak, all they know is anytime they want Gigi and Grandpa, they can just pull up a phone and get us on FaceTime. They've got us in their little hands to get anything that they absolutely want. So I had to sort of reframe and say, okay, this is okay. And reinvent my approach. I bought her own little phone, and she just loves it. It takes little pictures, it does its own little thing, plays its music, and then reignite by engaging in some phone conversations, and Grandpa will too. Okay, we're going to talk nicely, we're going to talk. So I want to go back with you to 2008, 2009, 2020. Given what we've talked about today, how will you be more prepared and be more future-proof to thrive in the new economy? I want to thank you for the opportunity to be with you today, and make sure that
Is this on? You're set. Thank you very much. You've certainly given us a lot to think about. Rotarians, if you have a question for our speaker, if you will please line up behind me, we get an opportunity to ask her some questions. I will note, you're Gigi. My grandmother name is Vivi, after my own grandmother, Vivian. I know. And you would love her. She's fabulous.
awesome.
So, any questions, please line up behind me.
First of all, thank you for the plug for Give for Good for Girl Scouts. I told you she was amazing. She's inspiring. I have to say those kind words. But the thing that I love today, and I've already got them planted up here, I love the word go. I love the word shake it up. I love the word scoot. And most of all, our thanks for you sharing this amazing work that you do for so many organizations. Thank you, Vivian.
Vivian Ashley Brower, thanks for being here today. I'm curious, in your work, what you see most often as the biggest challenge for companies that are trying to become more resilient. What's the obstacle that you just see, or they're stuck in this mindset, or what is it that's just you see over and over and over again?
I think there are a couple of things that I'll talk about. One is the fact that there's often a lot of operational focus, and people in your organization do the work every day. They get it done, and they come together and they create your climate and your workplace. So when we're not focused on our well-being of our people and the resilience of our well-being and investing in developing that and leading in the way that builds resilient teams from a human-centered lens, we're missing a great opportunity. And then the second thing I would say is really not being future-proof, the proactivity about really thinking about and spending intentional time about thinking about the future of work trends and the disruption that is occurring and how you navigate that. And then, like I talked about today, connecting that with your human potential, which is your biggest differentiator. Those are the two biggest things, actually, I would say I've seen. And I'm going to say a third thing, and that goes along with what the comment I just made, not really investing in developing your people and your leaders to be able to be prepared to lead in the way that they need to lead differently in this environment and as we move forward.
Thank you, Delene Taylor, Executive Director. I'm going to put you on the spot, and if you spoke about this while I was out of the room, then just let me know and we'll erase my question. But can you give an example of a time that you have failed in your leadership skills and what you may have learned from that experience?
Yeah, great question. I think we have many of those opportunities along the way in our career. And I would say probably one of my examples when I had, and much like we're in the environment today, so this was early on, 2000, probably 6, 7, 8 time frame, I had a remote team. And I think, and we have more technology and tools that we have available now, but I probably some of the biggest opportunity missed was maybe the connection with people who may have been working in isolation. I was leading a group, leading customer experience around Net Promoter Score was new at the time, and we had GE Appliances was GE Consumer and Industrial at the time. So I had people who were working not only here in Louisville, but also in lighting and also in industrial systems, so in Connecticut. And so I think, you know, when people are working on a team, and sometimes they're in isolation in a bigger organization, the opportunity to make sure that you're making those connections each and every day and setting kind of expectations that are clear, so people have clear guidance and direction on the work to be done. I think those are always opportunities, and I certainly have experienced that in my own career.
Hi, it's Antigone. So with the rapid pace of technological advancement on shifting workforce demographics, what do you see as the most critical skills and I'd say attributes leaders will need to foster in their teams to stay competitive in the workforce?
Good, thank you for that. Tiggy and I worked together. She was one of my students. I also teach here at the University of Louisville. And so some of the critical skills, you know, in this environment, I think, again, are going to be people-focused first and foremost. So your ability to have emotional intelligence, your ability to communicate, much of which we are losing, your ability to have some empathy around different expectations, and you've got all the different generations in the workplace. And you know, one of the things that we deal with in the leadership course that I teach with Anne is there's a case study where people think about empathy. And people get hung up on some of the mistakes or challenges that their team members make and think, well, if I'm empathetic, am I not holding people accountable? You know, empathy does not necessarily mean that you don't hold people accountable. So there is definitely a way to do that. But I think your people skills are critical. Your ability to navigate change and think ahead and think forward, and the resilience and agility to be able to do that, I think is one of the other key important skills that is critical. And there are a few things that are baked inside of that I think are important. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Vivian Walkuno here. Thank you for today. A couple of questions for you. One, what was the most interesting question that the Ukrainians asked you? And then the second one is, what's a question that you wish somebody would ask and they never did?
That's great. Those are great. So the format of the Ukrainian keynote was, I was virtual, and it was a 20-minute segment. We did not have the opportunity for Q&A. The format wasn't set up for that. But I will tell you one of the most interesting pieces of the conversation that I had with them and talking about. There were two observations. One is that the speaker, I got to listen in on the speaker before me. She was talking about many of the same challenges that we deal with talent, not enough talent. Of course, they have a lot of challenges that are based on people having left the country and migration and all that related to the war, veterans, but trying to figure out how to integrate veterans into the workforce, immigration and growing their workforce. So a lot of the same challenges, employee experience, a lot of the same things. So it's a small world is one. And then the second, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but they're just trying to live. And what I can't get my mind around is how are you bringing people together for an HR conference? They had people in person and virtual. So how are you bringing people together in light of, the fear of a potential bombing? And she said, they of course always have to have backup plans, shelter plans, but this is becoming our normal. And we have barbecues, we get together with our neighbors, we have our kids, we're trying to, give them a normal life. And we need each other. So that was striking. The question that I wish somebody would ask that they never have, I don't know that I have really thought about that question, to be honest with you, but I would say, I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't know. I don't know. I can probably think of something, but I haven't given that some thought, but I will. Thank you for that. It brought me a stumper.
Hi, thank you. I see we got some time, so that's why I come and ask the question. I will leave you guys with some context first, because it matters. You talk about AI. I'm a 20 years experienced computer engineer, but literally code. I code million lines of code and probably built around 6 different applications for Humana before I become the top 3 engineer at Humana out of 7,000 engineers across the world. I help build, AI, and we are, as a company right now, still building it privately. My car right now drive itself. I drive a Tesla, but I would not buy Tesla if it does not drive by itself, which it does today. I map it, it takes me A to Z. So that's how real it gets, and I actually do that every day. It's not like if and all. No, I literally map it, and it does that every single time. On my phone right now, I use 4 different AI. Right? ChatGPT is one of it, and I use it daily. So here's the application of that. Before I release my first book, I write, a stack of, documents, and I hand it to my editor, which it takes me around 10 years to find an editor because I never write books before, right? And I found one and helped release the first book, which is 2 years ago. And now I release a book every week, right? My mentors, a series of them comes to me and say, hey, D-Train, you should say AI wrote it. You did not. True. True on some level. Right? So I would call it AI with soul. And I mean it wholeheartedly. AI can write you a book right now instantly with a click of a button. And as a programmer right now, and I will relate it about the workforce and I will ask a question, okay? But I give you context first because everything I do is day-to-day basis. I actually still write code, okay? And I still write books and I still write every day. So that's what happened. What I'm sharing to you is the fear. My mentor who actually recommended me that editor, and that editor is not a fan of me today because I use AI to release a book every week. And my mentor is kind of mad at me so it is related to HR. That's why I brought it up, okay? Now I can tell you right now, I actually drive in my car and my wife watched me talk to ChatGPT, talk verbally, having a conversation, asking questions that I would ask you. And that conversation go on for 45 minutes until ChatGPT turn it off. For the reason it actually give me the master, I would not say PhD level answer yet, but master level structurally in the way that it makes sense to me. Right, so I'm giving you all this stuff to ask. This question is that where you go to all the conference that you meet, and I personally attend the Kentucky show, which is the HR conference. There's 1,000 audience, and I witness. I scan the room, and I see all I see is fear. You can concur or not, okay? But that's my experience, okay? So I can tell you right now from the background of the software engineer, and then I have a college of humanization. Also, the question I'm going to throw at you is as soon as the Tesla robot coming out with the brain of ChatGPT, which it will, it's not a question, it's already here. Okay, my Tesla is already a robot on wheel, walking like us is maybe 2 years or 5 years away from my estimate. So my question to you is it the focus of changing the mindset? Or Is it the focus of the term I use a lot more, which I hear one time from you, is called humanity. But I would say this is, should the focus be humanizing each other? Is what is left for us when all the work can be done by robot now, which is happening now. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think I agree with what you said. Humanization, and that really has been my message to you today. Human potential is really what we have, and that becomes your differentiator. We can replicate technology and utilize, ChatGPT. And I will say, one of the key advantages of what you get out of these AI tools is how you prompt it and the kinds of questions you tend to ask it. And a lot of your experienced people who tend to have work experience and know what they're thinking about to talk with and to prompt ChatGPT and these other AI tools to be able to get the kind of deeper and richer insights that you can get strategically. So they are powerful tools. But yeah, humanization is what the focus, what we need to really think about. We're losing a lot of that. That's one of my biggest concerns.
Thank you, Vivian and Vance, for being with us here today. It's wonderful to hear from you. Next week's meeting will feature Rear Admiral Ingrid Rader, U.S. Navy, and the subject of next week's talk is America's Warfighting Navy. Please RSVP by Monday, September 16th at noon, or you can use the QR code. Guests, don't forget to go to the What is Rotary table to meet with Craig Sherman for just a few minutes for the overview of what our club is all about. We are adjourned.